the whole purpose of the gatherings of the Mawlid of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in reality to connect back to Allah and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is one of the reasons we have the gatherings of the commemoration of the Mawlid of the birth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's to reignite our existing relationship, which may have fiddled out with Allah and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's an opportunity for us to sincerely turn back towards Allah and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Maulana spoke very importantly about a topic which I believe is often neglected or not spoken about as much as it should be spoken about. The importance of seeking sacred knowledge. Because catastrophe only comes about in a community where ignorance prevails. तबाही और बर्बादी कौम में उस वक्त ही आती है जब जहालत हो जाती है, जहालत जब फैलती है. And knowledge is as such that it distinguishes that catastrophe from the community, because knowledge has been described as what by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Al-ilm nur. Knowledge is light. Knowledge is light. And Maulana spoke very, very importantly about the connection between knowledge and character. Knowledge and being people who practice what they have learned and pass it on to others, and by implementing it in their own lives, through which the community around them will become enlightened, and we will become, inshallah, people who are tolerant individuals. That word he used was very important. Tolerance. Tolerance is the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if you look at the hirs of the Nabi, the concern of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and as we know from the Quran al-Kareem, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been sent forth towards us. Meaning already existed. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Laqad ja'akum, indeed has come forth towards you, has been sent forth towards you. You can only send that which already exists. Only he or she or that entity can come forth which is already existing in a realm which may be beyond our comprehension and understanding and intellect, but it exists. This is the whole meaning of faith, is it not? This is what Iman means. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. ईमान वाले वही लोग हैं जिन्होंने गैब के ऊपर ईमान रखा. ईमान वाला तो उसे कहा जाता है ना. You can only call a person with faith if they start to believe in that which the naked eye may have never seen, but we have only heard about, which may be beyond our intellect, but we believe, beyond our logical understanding, but we believe, beyond our limited capacity, but we believe. For instance, no one has an eye worthy of seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except him who he chooses. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Rasul has seen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we know from the narrations of some of the awliya and salihin that they have seen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way that is befitting to His Majesty Jalla Jalaluhu and their capacity. May Allah be pleased with them. The vast majority of us, we can sincerely say without the fear of being rebuked, that we've not seen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we believe. We've not seen the mizan, the scales on the day of Qiyamah, which are going to come about, but we believe. We've not seen the Sirat, the bridge, but we believe. We don't see angels, but we believe. We've not seen many a thing which has been described in the books of creed, in theology, in aqidah, but we believe. Yes? الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. So to believe in that which is in the realm of the unseen, this is Iman, this is faith. We bear witness to the oneness of Allah. Have you seen Allah? Yeah, we've not seen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. But we believe. This is Iman, this is what it means to be a person of faith, holds on to the entities of faith, that which is required for every sane Muslim adult to believe in and understand. We don't only believe, but we need to understand what we believe in. the dhat and the sifat of Allah, the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which Maulana mentioned, we need to believe in them and with an understanding. This is what it means to have knowledge. We need to believe in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a way that is required for every Muslim to believe as per what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stated in the Quran al-Kareem. And then he pointed out something very important thereafter as well, that the reality, the haqiqah of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam cannot be understood by us. The true reality, the true essence of Zaynul Wujud sallallahu alayhi wa sallam cannot be understood by us. So how do we relate to a prophet who has come forth towards us, who is concerned about it? How do we relate to him? As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the Quran al-Kareem, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عزيز عليه ما عنتم حريص عليكم بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم. This Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to build a relationship with the messenger.
Ameen.
So he says about him salawat rabbi wa salamun alayhi wa ala alihi what? That he is the one who came from amongst you, from amongst yourselves. So nobody can turn around and say about the Prophet, we can't relate to a man who's not been from amongst us. We can't take on his sunnah, his tradition, his way. He's not from amongst us. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ. Brings him down to our level of understanding, though his rank is high. For our level of understanding. مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. And it troubles him much, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that anything, any calamity should befall upon us, what we go through as individuals. He's troubled by it, and the Prophet ﷺ is extremely concerned about us. This Prophet who is concerned about us, Hirsun Nabi. If you seek knowledge about the attributes of Rububiyyah, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yes, and the Nubuwiyyah of prophecy, Risala, messengership, which is fardu ayn knowledge, which is obligatory upon every sane Muslim adult to learn, then you will start to understand how you can relate to the Prophet sallallahu. You can only love him and relate to him if you know him. And you can only know him if you learn about him. And the more you learn about him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you will find that you will never stop learning about him. Regardless of how many titles you attain later on in your life, regardless of how many degrees and how many sanad and isnad you get, irrelevant. When it comes to the Prophet ﷺ, it's irrelevant. One of the mashayikh of Sham, Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Al-Qadri, rahimahullah ta'ala, he wasn't very well known, but we met him during Umrah, when we went Umrah one time, and he said, as we were going to Rawdat Rasul, he said to us, when you go to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, no, but when you enter Madinatul Munawwarah, put aside all of your jubbas and your qubbas and your turbans and your titans and your asma, put everything to one side, and go to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi alone. Go to him alone, don't go to him with an entourage. Go to him with a group, with your boys, as it would be said. Don't approach the Prophet like that. Are you trying to show some sense of authority in front of the one who is authority? Are you trying to be someone? You're trying to be someone in front of the one? Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Go alone. Faqir ban kar ja. Go as a beggar to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa and humbly give your salams to him. And speak to him. Complain to him about what troubles you, what bugs you. Speak to him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because this Prophet is concerned about you. For the believers, he is extremely merciful. And the ulama will tell you, Maulana can tell you, that up here the Ra'uf Rahim was not restricted to his lifetime, is it? The Ra'uf Rahim here is what? He has always been merciful towards the believers, will always be merciful. His character is very merciful towards us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the concern of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is as such that it began from the moment he was born, when his physical birth happened, when the Mawlid al-Sharif happened in this realm. We know from various narrations, Shaykh Ibn Kathir al-Damishqi, rahimahullah ta'ala, may Allah be pleased with him, when he compiled the very well-known Mawlid text, we just recited from the Mawlid of Imam al-Barzanji, these texts that are written, compiled by our pious predecessors in which they speak about the narrations relating to the birth of the Prophet ﷺ specifically, then other chapters relate to the lineage of the Prophet, the Nasab al-Sharif, and so on and so forth. Shaykh Ibn Kathir compiled a Mawlid text. And in this particular Mawlid text of Ibn Kathir, you will find in the second chapter, he speaks about the miracles that started to manifest during the birth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he puts down a narration in there. And he says that Thuwayba, one of the slave girls who was present at the time of the birth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you will find in Sirat al-Nabawi Sharif, there was more than one Thuwayba. There was the one that belonged to Abu Lahab, who came at the time of the birth of the Prophet ﷺ, then she reported back to him that a nephew has been born. Then there was the one who wanted to marry Sayyidina, the father of the Prophet ﷺ, Sayyidina Abdullah radiallahu anhu. Her name was also Thuwayba. And there was the third one who existed as well, the one who gave the milk to the Prophet ﷺ. So there was various Thuwaybas. This particular one who came at the time when the Prophet ﷺ was being born, she gives the testimony that I saw with my own eyes. When he sallallahu alayhi wa was born, one of the things he started to utter from his blessed lips, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa started to utter from his blessed lips was what? Rabbi habli ummati. Oh Allah, pardon my ummah. Oh Allah, pardon my ummah. And then she describes the action which took place, that he prostrated. The Prophet ﷺ prostrated as soon as he was born. Subhanallah. Nabi ke tarah hamara mawlood nahi ho sakta, hamari tarah kaise hue? We can't even compare our birth to the birth of the Prophet ﷺ. In what way is he like us? And when he went into prostration, what did he say? Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah inni rasul. रसूल की तरह कलमा भी हम नहीं पढ़ सकते, रसूल हमारी तरह कैसे होंगे? हम तो कहते हैं ना, we say अशहदु अल्ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह व अशहदु अन्ना मुहम्मदन अब्दुहु व रसूलुहु सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम. We bear witness that he is the messenger of Allah. He bears witness that he himself is the messenger of Allah. But the concern starts there. Hirsul Nabi starts there. Oh Allah, pardon my ummah. He starts speaking about his ummah from the moment he was born, with a very humble, tolerant, inshallah tone. I request our respected and honorable brother who is a da'i in the Americas, I believe, or Canada, who made a very gross mistake, and we appeal to him to retract his words. Who said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam accepted Iman at the age of 14. And we say that this brother probably said this out of ignorance. He probably didn't come across the narrations. كنت نبي آدم بين الماء والطين وكنت نبي آدم بين الروح والجسد. And this brother who said this, we humbly and very tolerantly request to you that please, if such statements are going to be made, then all you are doing is giving power and support and what we can call weapons to those individuals who want to speak ill of Muslims and their Prophet. That they are following a Prophet who became a Prophet at the age of 40. What was he doing for the rest of 40 years of his life? And it only supports that false theory of the individuals who have been writing very recently that their Prophet was nobody but a schizophrenic individual who lived for 40 years without an understanding. And then he declared his prophecy at the age of 40. That's all you're doing by making such statements. You're giving them weapons of the pen and paper and words. This is what you're doing. So I humbly request you retract your statement and have a correct understanding of what it means to believe in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. By all means, come and learn from Maulana here. He can teach you what Aqidah is. We very, alhamdulillah, very fakhr se hum kehte hain, very proudly say, hamare naujawan aqeedeh se waqif hain aaj. And if we have ulama like this growing up amongst our communities, inshallah, the future of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah is very bright in this land. If you have speakers and da'is like this, our future is very bright, inshallah. Our future is very bright. So if you understand that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was a prophet who existed even before he was born. For it was his prophecy that was spoken about by Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, was it not? Didn't Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the error, the minor error that happened in his life, when he said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, for the sake of Sayyidina Muhammad. He gave the name of Sayyidina Muhammad to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There, right there, the prophecy of Sayyidina Muhammad is being spoken about even before he is born. और आप 40 साल की बात कर रहे हैं आप 40 साल की बात कर रहे हैं. You're saying at the age of 40 he declared faith in Allah. He is faith. The Prophet is Iman. Rasul Iman hai. La ilaha illallah कहने वाले तो बहुत थे. There was many a man and woman who was saying La ilaha illallah. उनको जहन्नमी से जन्नती कैसे बनाया गया जब उन्होंने कहा मुहम्मद रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम. And at such instances, if we don't speak up and speak about the correct understanding and correct matters of creed, then we are encouraging ignorance to prevail in our communities. Can you just imagine how many an English-speaking Muslim around the globe must have watched this clip and said, oh look, the Prophet, even he had to believe in Allah at the age of 40, even he had to, and he used the word revert, didn't he? He says he reverted. Hearing the name of Sayyidina Muhammad makes you a believer. उनका नाम ईमान है, वो खुद ईमान है. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So being individuals who have knowledge, you will never err like this. You're not going to utter such nonsense, are you? You're not going to be amongst those people who think you're calling towards Allah. But what are you doing? You're not calling towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All you're doing is filling people's hearts and minds with ignorance. Which is why we say, turn back to the way of our pious predecessors. Seek knowledge. Ilm hasil karo. Learn your creed, learn your aqidah in the way that it needs to be learned as per what Allah has said in the Quran al-Kareem. The Hirsul Nabi, the concern of the Prophet. Look at the concern of the Prophet. Salawat Rabbi wa salamun alayhi wa ala alihi. At night when he stays awake in worship after the declaration of prophecy. And Sayyidatina Aisha Siddiqa radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she gives the narration, the mother of the believers. She says what? The narration which is found in the Sahih of Imam Muslim. She says that I used to hear from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that during his prayer he would say, Rabbi habli ummah. Oh Allah, pardon my ummah. Oh Allah, pardon my ummah. And then he once came to Sayyidatina Aisha Siddiqa radiyallahu ta'ala anha, the mother of the believers, and he says to Sayyidatina Aisha Siddiqa radiyallahu anha, Ya Aisha, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive your major and your minor and your past and your present and that which you done knowingly and that which you done unknowingly. May Allah forgive you for that. And she smiles and she becomes pleased. And he asks Aisha, are you pleased? She says, by Allah, I am pleased. He says, by Allah, Aisha, there's not a night that passes except that I say this for every single person in my community, in my ummah. Hirsul Nabi, the concern of the Prophet. Hamari gunahon ke liye tawbah farmate hain. हमारे गुनाहों की तौबा मांगते हैं अल्लाह से, बख्शिश मांगते हैं अल्लाह से, मग़फ़िरत चाहते हैं अल्लाह से. Hirsul Nabi, the concern of the Prophet. Look at the concern of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa on the night of Badr, on the night of the Battle of Badr. He sallallahu alaihi wa found in all of the major seerah texts. Seerah Ibn Ishaq, the narration is found in there. The narration is also found in Al-Bidayah wa Nihayah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa sallam, Rahim al-Maktum al-Mubarak has also compiled this narration. That Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa sallam is lifting his hands on the night that came before the battle of Badr, the 17th of Ramadan. And upon that year, fasting and zakah, giving charity had become obligatory upon the ummah. The first major battle to take place. 313 warriors go out in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to defend Islam, Iman and Ihsan, to defend Madinatul Munawwara. As a last resort, they decided to lift their swords. After the Prophet ﷺ said, we do not lift the sword according to our own will, except that when the command from Allah. And it was then what? To defend. He ﷺ, the night before the battle, is lifting his arms. Sayyidina Abi Bakr as-Siddiq ibn Abi Quhafa, radiyallahu anhu arda, Amirul Mu'mineen, and the first individual to earn the title of Shaykhul Islam. He's standing next to the Prophet, salawat rabbi wa salam alayhi wa ala alihi, and he gazes at the Prophet and he gives the narration. He says, I saw, which means I saw that the thought of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had come so far down after he was lifting his hands so high that you could see the whiteness of his blessed armpits. And you could see the seal of prophecy on his back. His thought had gone back. And he was saying, Oh Allah, and he was calling out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala using the attributes of Allah. Hayyul Qayyum. Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum. Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum. Oh Allah, grant success to those who have testified to your oneness and my prophecy in tomorrow's battle. Grant success to them. For if they are not successful, then there will be no one left to worship you, Ya Rabbal Alameen. There will be no one left to worship you. Allah grants them success. No one left to worship you what? Till the morning of Qiyamah. Hirsun Nabi, the concern of the Prophet is Subh Qayamat tak ke Musalmanon ka iman salamat rahe. Subh Qayamat tak ke aane wale Musalman hifz o aman mein rahe. Ey Allah, ye 313 jo teri raah mein nikle hain, unko kamyabi se nawaaz. Subhanallah. Grant them success. Our success that we have today was dependent upon the actions of our pious predecessors, of the Sahaba, of the Tabi'een, the Tabi'een, the actions that they performed. It's our success today. But this is Hirsun Nabi, this is the concern of the Prophet. Sultan al-Ulama, Imam Izzuddin bin Abdus Salam, rahimahullah ta'ala wa nafa'ana Allah bih. He compiles in his very well-known text, Al-Bidayat Rasul fi Tafdeel Rasul, the 40 attributes of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the afdaliyya of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The 40 attributes that he has, the 40 virtues rather that he has, which no other prophet or messenger or any sahabi or any believer or any creation has received except him. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And one of the things that he compiles in there is what? That till the morning of Qiyamah, every believer, every action we perform, every single action that we perform in terms of deeds, a'mal, yes, foremost, it is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam who will be receiving the virtue of that deed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So every time we pray salah, zakah, siyam, qiyam, hajj, yes, umrah, sitting in the masjid, dhikr, adhkar, awrad, wazaif, whatever we do as a believer, foremost the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam receives the virtue from it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because his ummah, whatever action his ummah performs, he is the leader of the ummah, rightfully belongs to him. It's because of him that we are able to perform what we have. And then look at the concern of the Prophet when it comes to that as well. What did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say? Al-hayati khayrun lakum wa mamati khayrun lakum. That my living is good for you, my passing is good for you. How is the passing good for us? He sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said it, which means that whenever you perform a deed, a member of my community performs a deed, it will be presented in front of me. तुम्हारे अमाल मेरे हुजूर कर दिए जाते हैं, मेरे सामने रखे जाते हैं. इन रौदत और रसूल, इन रौदत और रसूल. भाई हयात और ममातुल नबी की बात कहाँ से निकली गई? Where did this discussion come about from? हदीस पढ़कर देखो फौरन पता चल जाएगा हुजूर जिंदा नहीं तो कौन जिंदा है? हुजूर हयात नहीं तो कौन किसकी हयात की बात कर रहे हैं? हमसे ज्यादा जिंदा है अल्लाह के रसूल सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम. हदीस के हवाले से और हदीस the compilers of the prophetic traditions ये हमारे हिंदुस्तान और पाकिस्तान और बांग्लादेश के उलमा तो नहीं थे, और अगर थे तो क्या हुआ? इसमें भी खैर है, इसमें भी खैर है. आमीन. Why not? If you look at a lot of the major fuqaha of this ummah relating to the Hanafi madhab in particular, they hail from the Asian subcontinent. Of course they do. The hadith is what? कि तुम्हारे अमाल, your deeds are presented in front of me. If I see that you have been performing good deeds, I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it. मैं अल्लाह का शुक्र मानता हूँ. अल्लाह से इरशाद फरमाता है, रब्बे करीम तू कबूल फरमा दे. मेरी उम्मत ने नमाज पढ़ी, तू कबूल फरमा दे. ज़कात दिया, तू कबूल फरमा दे. रसूल कबूलियत की दुआ फरमा रहे हैं. And if he sees that we have been committing errors, sins, that which earns the displeasure of Allah, Rasul हमारे लिए दुआए मग़फ़िरत तलब फरमाते हैं. या अल्लाह इनको माफ़ फरमा दे, या अल्लाह तो बख्शिश फरमा दे. The concern of the Prophet doesn't even end after he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has entered into Rawdat Rasul, does it? The concern doesn't end there. If you look at his whole seerah was concern for his ummah. Is his ummah today concerned about each other? Is the ummah today concerned about one another the way it needs to be concerned? Are we genuinely concerned about one another? What disputes have we entered into whilst the whole ummah is in turmoil? What have we done to ourselves as a community? As Maulana mentioned, we've become an intolerant community. If we have disputes amongst us, there is an etiquette, there is a way of handling that dispute. Akhlaq or adab is behas ulama ke darmiyan ye to kabhi mana nahi hua, ikhtilaf to mana nahi hua na, ikhtilaf kar hi nahi sakte to बेशक करो इख्तिलाफ में भी आदाब रखो, इख्तिलाफ में भी अदब रखो, अदब तब तुम्हारी बात मानी जाएगी. अगर बेअदब होकर उस अदब वाले नबी की, if you're trying to defend that prophet of honor by dishonoring your own tongue and your own character, you're not going to do justice to him. You will never do justice to him. Allah ke Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, how did he handle dispute? Maulana gave us a very beautiful example. And there's many examples in Siratul Nabi. When the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, for example, at the end of the Battle of Uhud, when the Muslim shuhada, they were lying in the battlefield, Musliman shuhada, they were lying in the battlefield. And at that time, Abu Sufyan had not accepted Islam yet, radiyallahu anhu, the man who was Sahabi who was Musliman. After Fatih Makkah, he accepted Islam. At that time, he had not accepted Islam yet. And he came and he looked at all of the slain Muslims. And he looks to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and he says, how many of yours are dead? Look how many of yours are dead. Are you still going to hold on to what you believe in? Abhi bhi baaz nahi aaoge tum? Abhi bhi mante ho ki dunya mein koi ma'bud nahi siwaye Allah? Are you still going to say there is no God but Allah? Look how many of yours are dead now. So what did the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say? At that moment, he could have said anything he wanted. Hey, Giri. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam could have replied in a manner and nobody would have held it against him, because he was being taunted for the slaughter of his uncle, of his first cousins, of his family members, of his companions. Not one of them, not two of them, dozens of them. Their bodies scattered across the battlefield, their kidneys ripped out, their hearts taken out, their ears cut, the nose cut. Imagine what an individual goes through emotionally when they see such a state. Bahadha Nabi, this is the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. How does he reply? He says, Abu Sufyan, our dead are better than your dead. Our dead are better than your dead. For those of ours who have died, they are in Jannah. What can be said about those of yours who have died? Where are they? Look at the answer. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, asanja murda anji murde kata khasai. Asanja marela anji marela kata khasai. This is what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and he didn't stop there, did he? He says, our libas is afdalu libasukum. Our clothing is better than your clothing. We get rewarded when we put on clothes, for we thank Allah for giving us clothes. Hamare kapre tumhare kapre se behtar. And then he says, our living is better than your living, for we live and thank Allah. And our dying is better than your dying, because we have salvation when we die. What do you have when you die? At that moment in time, look at the tolerant answer full of wisdom. Hikmat se bara hua jawab. At that moment in time, he could have pulled his sword out, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He could have taken his head off. He could have recharged into the battlefield. He could have used words that are not appropriate. He could have said whatever he wanted to say. La. But this is the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, a tolerant individual. This is how he answered at that particular time, at that particular point, where anything would have been accepted from him. It would have been justified. But look how he answers. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Look at the concern of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, even when it comes to non-Muslims. Yes, 12-year-old Jewish child. Sahih Muslim, the narration is found in there. 12-year-old Jewish child used to come into Masjid Nabawi Sharif and used to look at the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He would gaze at the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he would follow the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And there is even a narration that says that he went and once wanted to pick up the na'alayn of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the blessed sandals of the Messenger. Then the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam doesn't see him for a day. Second day passes, third day passes. After 3 days, the Prophet asks, "Where's that child who used to stand at the door and watch me and used to follow me around? Kahan hai wo?" Sayyidina Khalid bin Walid radiyallahu anhu, he says, "Allah ke Rasool, wo Yahudiyon ka bachcha hai. He's a child of a Jewish family, or bimar hai, he's ill." Stop and think. If we were told that someone, a member of our community, ek bachcha bimar hai, would we genuinely go and ask how that child is? Bachcha. Someone who we often deem irrelevant. Kya baat hai, chhod yaar, sirf bachcha hai. He's only a child. Would we go and ask? Apna Musalman. मैं गैर मुस्लिम का पूछूंगा भी नहीं. I'm not going to ask about non-Muslims. मुसलमान का बच्चा. Would we go and ask how that child is? ये है मुस्तफा जाने रहमत. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He says to his companions, "Come, let's go and ask how that child is." चलो उस बच्चे के बारे में पूछते हैं हम. Can you so imagine that you're not feeling well and the messenger comes to ask how you are? The Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Prophet goes to ask and he walks in and he sees the child lying down on the bed. And he sits next to him on the bed. And he sees the child and the child is looking towards the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says to the child, "Qul la ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. Qul ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu Rasulullah." Kehdo, say it. Say la ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. Say it. Kehdo. Itne mein, the child's father then walks into the room and he sees the Prophet ﷺ sitting next to his son. And the child then looks towards the father as if to suggest, "What do I do? What do I do? The Prophet is saying this to me." He looks at his father and the father says, "Ittiba'a bil Qasim." Abu Qasim ki ittiba kar. Be adherent to the father of Qasim. The kunya of the Prophet ﷺ was used. Be adherent to what the father of Qasim is saying. The child says, "La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam." Because the Prophet showed concern for him. The character of the Prophet. He came from the masjid. The Imam of the prophets and messengers comes to ask about a Jewish child. And he sees the excellent character of the messenger. And how can you not accept La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? The Prophet stands and smiles and is about to walk out of the house. And right behind him, Sayyidina Khalid bin Walid says, "Ya Rasulullah, the child has passed away." The child has passed away. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as was his habit, when he would step out of the masjid or step out of a building under the open sky, what was the first thing he used to do after putting his right foot out and saying, "Bismillah, tawakkaltu ala Allah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-azim," he would gaze towards the sky and would lift his hands. Subhanallah. This was the way of the messenger, his habit. He'd step out, Bismillah, tawakkaltu ala Allah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, acknowledging the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he gazes towards the sky and he says, "All praise be to Allah who had made this child go into Jannah because of me." Allah be praised that this child is now going to Jannah because of me. Stop and think. How many salahs has that child prayed? How many times has that child performed Hajj? What deed has that child done? क्या किया क्या? मुस्तफा जाने रहमत को देख कर कलमा पढ़ लिया, सुभान अल्लाह, रसूल की ज़ियारत की, ईमान वाला हो गया. He sees the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and now he's become from Ahlul Jannah. Jannati ho gaya. What do we understand? Build your relationship with the Messenger, tum bhi jannati ho jao. It's about your relationship with the Messenger. It's about your understanding of the Prophet, which is why we emphasize upon studying the Shama'il of the Messenger, which is why we emphasize upon studying the Seerah of the Prophet. So you have a relationship with him, you have an understanding of him. Your day and night revolves around him. Inshallah, the day of Qiyamah you will be with him. This is one of the reasons that we have the gatherings of the Mawlid of the Prophet ﷺ, and we speak about the Shama'il, we speak about the importance of seeking sacred knowledge, we speak about the Seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, the life of the Prophet ﷺ. So it builds our connection with the Messenger. So we turn back to the Prophet ﷺ. Do a Milad of the Prophet ﷺ every single day of your life, every single second of your life. Wallahi ladhim, your Milad with the Prophet ﷺ does not necessarily have to be about a gathering, does it? It doesn't have to be about, though if you do get people together for the sake of your Prophet, khair, nurun ala nur, light upon light. There's only blessings in there, there's only light upon light in there. But every single day, every single one of us, we can purchase a book. And if reading's not your thing, then I'm sure you can listen to the speeches of ulama on this some khair in YouTube. There's some khair, there's some goodness. Make good use of the good things in there. I'm sure Abdul Karim Nas will agree with me. YouTube's got its good points, has it not? Of course. So listen to the speeches of the ulama in a language that you understand about the Prophet, about the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Every single day, give yourself a realistic target. Make this promise in the Mawlid of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that inshallah you will do this. Ameen. Say inshallah. Inshallah. 10 minutes for the Prophet every day. कम से कम इतना तो हम करें जो पैदा होते ही रब्बी हबीली उम्मती कहने लगे उनके लिए 10 मिनट हम क्या है? What's 10 minutes for him? 10 minutes every day just before you sleep. Either read a book of the seerah of the Prophet or the shama'il of the Prophet, or listen to a lecture. 10 minutes. If you want to do more khair, do it. But at least 10 minutes. Just you and your Prophet. There's your Milad al-Nabi right there. There's your Milad gathering right there. There you go. And no one who says La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is going to say that that's an innovation where it's not allowed, where it's forbidden. Aqalmand hoga kabhi nahi kahega कि रसूल के बारे में सीखना ये भी मना है. समझ रहे हैं? Build a relationship with your Prophet. Build an understanding of who your Prophet is. Though his reality can never be exposed in front of us in its true essence, but what has been given to us from Allah, take it with both arms. Take on your Prophet. Especially the English-speaking Muslim living in Britain. And don't worry so much about what others think of you. Worry more about what your relationship is with Allah. Worry more about that. But that's where salvation is. Your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many a time insincerity comes into our hearts, in our actions, in our speech, in our words, is when we start worrying about what others are thinking of us. Stop worrying about that. Be sincere to Allah. Rectify your relationship with Allah. Rectify your relationship with the Messenger. Kamyabi to usi mein hai na. Leave that which does not concern you. Leave it. As the Prophet has said. Leave it. If it doesn't concern you, leave it. Leave it. The Prophet is your concern, you're the concern of the Prophet. Hold on to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives me and you sincerity towards the Messenger. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fills our hearts with true love for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We live by it and we die by it. I take this opportunity to sincerely thank Abdul Jabbar and the committee of this masjid, the Aimma, the people of this community, for giving us the opportunity to come and meet you and speak about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May we all be with him on the day of Qiyamah, and may we be dealt amongst the Ahlul Iman on the day of Qiyamah. We die with La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, and we wake up with La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. Wa ma alayna illa al-balagh.